for very long before you begin to lie to yourself. That's what gives a seducer that weak quality, but hey, I'm no seducer. This is just my hobby. Does that make you feel better? Or you still don't like me? Well, you're just jealous. You'll understand later. She wasn't bad in bed, as if I had the slightest interest in that. Once I found out that she wasn't the one, and as soon as we started making love, I knew that it wasn't her. That's always when I know, no matter how many times I'm disappointed, I'll never get used to it. But despite the pain, I'll never give up my search. As soon as we finished, I knew what it was about this woman, this Jill, that had interested me, that made me think it was her. It's always like that. In this case, it was her ears. I had to have those ears. No, this is not a horror story. This is a true story. I'm hiding nothing. I didn't take out a razor and slice off her ear and maybe send it to some painter. Hardly original. So relax. I got out my camera, took shots of her ears and face. Then I ordered her breakfast and left her a note about having to leave early for Houston. The bank had collapsed and I had to get new financing to save a hotel project. She was still sleeping when I left. That always makes it easier. Of course, I never told her the name of my company or given her my phone number. She would always have the memory of an adventure, that she had touched the top with her fingertips, one of those only if fairy tales that people keep in the drawers of their minds to sweeten the inevitable bitter moments of life. I raced home to my real home, a bachelor apartment in the suburbs. I developed the pictures, changing the shading and doing a tiny bit of enlarging. Then I took out my master photo, the one of her, a mosaic made up of pieces of many different women. The ears definitely helped. I only needed feet and one breast, then I would know what she looked like. You might ask why I needed the full picture of her before I know what she looked like. The answer truly is, I don't know. It would have saved me many heartbreaks, not to speak of the time and money involved. But I knew deep down that until I could see her in front of me, all of her, until then I wouldn't be able to recognize her. But I'm also a scientist in all of this, so I must proceed scientifically, gathering my data, waiting for all the information before coming to a conclusion. I flew down to Mexico searching for her feet. I've been getting more and more duplicates lately. You see, when I think I've found her, I never know if it's all her or just some part. And if it's some part, I don't know which part. In other words, I can't look at some woman and just say, ah, there's her left leg. No, until we make love, not until we make love do I know what pieces of the puzzle each woman has for me, and then my heart is broken. But it's worth it. Love is always worth it, isn't it? Anyway, I had good luck. A girl from Finland, I can't remember her name and I couldn't pronounce it anyway. Well, I got her feet. You know my technique? I figured out who she'd go for, and for her I became an ex-surfing champion suffering from feelings of inadequacy. And can you believe it? She had both feet. I was only one breast away. So close, but it took such a long time. I kept getting duplicates. At least 30 women turned into dead ends. That's right, that many duplicates. Noses, belly buttons, hands, elbows, legs. I already had those pieces of the puzzle. Oh, I know what you're thinking. You think that I enjoyed my search, enjoyed tricking all those women, and you want to hear all the details. Well, you won't, and you're wrong. I did it out of love, and only out of love. What pain, what heartbreak, every time I thought that I'd found her and it turned out to be only some part, some piece. Before you judge me, stop and review your own life. I'm sure you've done the same thing yourself if you only think about it. But then I finally found the breast, and I had her, at least in photo form. I hired the best commercial artist available to touch up her picture to make it look like one photo. Oh, she was so beautiful. It had all been worth it. I hired private detectives, gave each one a set of photos, but not a lead developed. Oh, sure, they brought in pictures of women they said looked like her. It was disgusting, insulting. I flew into a rage. Were they blind? I'm ashamed to admit that I almost lost hope. I even started thinking, what proof did I have that she even existed? Then I got a brainstorm. I printed up flyers with her picture on it and wrote, missing. I put in a separate phone line with an answering machine. My detectives went to work tracking down every call. Maybe I'm a mystic. Listen, a call comes in and I just knew that it was the one. But like I said, my hobby requires me to be an artist, so maybe my intuition isn't surprising. Some guy yelled at me, or rather at the machine, rambled on drunkenly about how the woman on the poster looked like his wife, and that he would sue me if I didn't take the posters down. People were laughing at him or something. He wasn't very coherent. I had the number traced, found out where they lived. Then I rented an apartment across the street and watched the house with binoculars every waking hour, using all my vacation time and beyond. But what's a job, even at Rise Electronics, compared to love? When I first saw her, I knew it was her, like I'd never known before. I was sure. I tracked her to Jenks Supermarket, found out that she worked as a checker. I went to the store every day that she worked. I would pick a few things off the shelves without looking and get in her checkout line. Watching her while she worked, she was so beautiful. Then I would go outside, throw everything in the trash bin, and go back and buy more things just to be in her line. She started looking at me funny. She was anxious. I understood. She was shy and married, which reminds me of her husband. We didn't get along. I tried talking to him once at Joey's Boondocks, the local bar where he hung out. Can you believe it? He didn't know what he had. He started complaining about his wife, how she'd gained 45 pounds since they got married, how she nagged him and dressed like a slob. Well, I told him that he was wrong, that his wife was the most beautiful woman in the world. Instead of agreeing, he became very hostile and asked me a lot of insulting to her questions. And when I told him I'd been looking for her for years, he even tried to punch me. Anyway, I kept going to the grocery store. Finally, one day I had the courage to speak to her. There was an old woman behind me buying bags of cat food and a college kid in front of me with his frozen dinners and beer. Hello. Hello, she said. I knew her heart was in torment. I couldn't stand to see how she struggled to hide her feelings. I had to save her. Jean, I love you. I climbed up on the moving conveyor belt, knocking over the bags of cat food. My knee landed on a frozen pizza. Marry me. Get rid of Jack. I've looked for you for all of my life. I slipped on the moving belt, stepped on a cantaloupe, fell